A record number of Americans just raided their retirement accounts early just to pay their rent. Half of all renters in this country are now spending more than 30% of their income just to keep a roof over their heads. But here's the statistic that nobody can quite believe when they hear it. 44% of people earning six figures a year recently told a national survey that they are living paycheck to paycheck. If you've been sitting at your kitchen table looking at your bank account on a Tuesday afternoon and thinking, wait, I make decent money, why do I feel like this? I need you to know something right now. You are not imagining it. You aren't bad with money. The math of being a normal American just doesn't add up anymore. On paper, the American household has never made more money. The median household income just hit a record high of over $83,000. Unemployment is historically low. The S&P 500 is up massively over the last decade. Every metric that an economist puts on a slide deck looks fantastic. And yet, over 60% of Americans feel like they are drowning. How does the average American earn more money than ever before, but feel broker than ever at the exact same time? The truth is, the middle class isn't dying, it's experiencing something stranger. There used to be 4 checks the American middle class could comfortably cash, but one by one, over the last 5 years, every single one of those checks has been quietly canceled. The house, the retirement, the emergency fund, the second income. Today, we are going to walk through all 4, because once you see this, the last few years are finally going to make sense. And if you stick around until the end, I'll show you exactly how to protect yourself before a 5th check gets canceled too. Let's get into it. Canceled check number 1, the house. The cornerstone of the American dream. Right now, the median home in America costs around $416,000. The median household income is about $83,000. That gives us a price-to-income ratio of 5.0. To put that into perspective, back in 1985, that same ratio was 3.5. That means homes are fundamentally 43% more expensive relative to our incomes than they were 40 years ago. And if you live in a major city, forget about it. In San Jose, the median home costs 12 times the local median income. Los Angeles is nearly 11 times. Just 5 years ago, only 15 major metro areas in America had a ratio above 5.0. Today, that number has skyrocketed to 39. In just 5 years, the number of American cities where homes are mathematically unaffordable for the local middle class has more than doubled. But here is the cruelest twist of all, the lock-in effect. 80% of homeowners with a mortgage in America have an interest rate below 6%. Over 70% have a rate below 5%. But today's mortgage rates are hovering much higher. Think about it. If you already own a home, you're never selling. Why would you trade your beautiful 3% mortgage for a 6.5% one, essentially doubling your monthly payment for the exact same quality of house? You wouldn't. So the entire housing market has frozen solid. Existing owners won't move, builders can't build fast enough, and first-time buyers are stuck on the sidelines, doing the math, quietly realizing they might never own a home in the city they grew up in. And if you're thinking, okay, I'll just rent. The median asking rent in America is around $2,000 a month. That's up 33% since the start of the pandemic. The income you need to comfortably afford that is roughly $78,000, which sadly is basically the median income, meaning the average family can rent an apartment and have almost nothing left over. The house your parents bought with one income at age 28, it's mathematically off the table. Canceled checks number 2 and 3, retirement and emergencies. Check number 2 is the one that genuinely shocked me when I looked into the data, the retirement account. The modern American bargain was supposed to be this. We take away your guaranteed company pension, but in exchange, you get a 401k. You put money in for 40 years and you retire comfortably. In 1983, over 60% of workers had a defined benefit pension.
By 2016, that dropped to 17%. The entire concept of retirement got privatized. Cool, except in 2025, a record number of Vanguard 401k participants took an early hardship withdrawal. We're talking triple the pre-pandemic rate. Why are they pulling the money out? To go on a cruise? No. The number one reason was to avoid foreclosure or eviction. Number two was medical bills. Number three was tuition. The system is so financially squeezed that everyday people are breaking into their own retirement piggy banks, the money they need to live on in 30 years just to keep the lights on today. And that leads us right into canceled check number 3, the emergency fund. The most basic financial cushion that is supposed to absorb life's little disasters is statistically gone. According to the Federal Reserve, roughly 1 in 3 Americans couldn't even handle a $500 surprise expense in cash. The personal savings rate in this country has plummeted to around 4.5%, roughly half of its long-term historical average. So what happens when the transmission blows, or your kid needs braces, or your tooth cracks?
The credit card comes out. The gap between what Americans earn and what it costs to simply stay alive is being papered over by absolute mountains of toxic debt. U.S. household debt is sitting at record highs. Credit card debt is over $1.28 trillion. And the average APR on those cards? A staggering 23%. Some retail cards are charging over 33%. We are literally paying billions in pure interest directly to bank shareholders just to survive. And don't even get me started on car loans. The average new car payment is almost $800 a month. 1 in 5 buyers are signing up for 84-month loans. That is 7 years of debt on a depreciating piece of metal. The illusion of good money and the second income. Let's step away from the macro numbers for a second and look at a real household. Because honestly, billion-dollar statistics stop feeling real after a while. Picture a couple in the Midwest making $110,000 together. On paper, they are comfortably above the U.S. median. They are solidly middle class. They aren't buying luxury bags or vacationing in Dubai. After federal and state taxes, their take-home pay is roughly $7,200 a month. Let's do the math. $2,400 for a mortgage on a modest house, $1,100 in childcare for 1 kid, $1,000 for groceries, $600 for 2 car payments, $400 on car insurance, $300 in utilities, $300 on phones and internet, $400 in student loans, $300 out of pocket for their health insurance premium. Add that up, we are at $6,800. That leaves just $400 a month for everything else: gas, clothes, birthday gifts, date nights, saving for Christmas. 1 single car repair, 1 busted water heater, and that $400 buffer instantly evaporates into credit card debt. This household is doing everything right. 2 solid incomes, no Lamborghinis in the driveway, and the math on $110,000 is still razor thin. This is why 6-figure earners say they feel broke. They aren't lying. The middle-class basket of goods just got that expensive. Which brings us to canceled check number 4, the second income. In 1970, 1 single income could buy you a middle-class life: a house, cars, kids, retirement, and a vacation. Today, it takes 2 incomes to barely scrape by and achieve that exact same lifestyle. The second income didn't get us ahead, it just became the new baseline to stay afloat. All 4 checks, gone. The great wealth split. Here's the part I really need you to understand because it shifts how you have to look at the economy going forward. This didn't happen because you got lazier. The reason you feel this squeeze is that the cost of being middle class quietly outran the cost of being a billionaire. Eggs went up over 50%. Beef went up over 70%. Family health insurance premiums are completely out of control. Childcare is now more expensive than a mortgage in almost all 50 states. Car insurance spiked 30% in just 2 years. None of those costs really affect a billionaire's budget. They only hit yours. And while your expenses were inflating, the people who already own assets were being absolutely showered with wealth. The top 10% of American households now own roughly 93% of all stock market wealth. Let that sink in. The bottom 50% of Americans combined own about 1% of the stock market. When the S&P 500 hits another record high or when housing prices surge, it's not universally good news. It is a massive wealth transfer event for the top 10%. Everyone else is just watching from outside the casino. If you bought a house in 2015, you're magically 80% richer on paper, and you didn't have to work a single extra hour to earn it. But if you're trying to buy your first home right now, you are being priced out of your own life by people who already own 3 houses. The defining question in America today isn't how much money you earn, it's whether you own assets. The middle class didn't just shrink, it split. How to survive the split. So, where does this leave us? I'm not going to sit here and pretend you can fix 50 years of broken economic policy and asset inflation. You can't. But what you can do is aggressively change how exposed you are to it. The people who will survive this aren't necessarily the ones who make the most money. They are the ones who adjust the earliest. Here's your game plan to get on the right side of the split. Step 1. Build a $1,000 starter emergency fund. Before you pay down debt, before you invest, put $1,000 in a boring savings account. The second you have it, you stop the credit card spiral when life inevitably happens. Step 2. Attack high-interest debt. Retail credit cards at 30% APR are a financial emergency. Paying them off is a guaranteed 30% return on your money. No stock on earth beats that reliably. Step 3. The car rule. Please stop taking out 84-month car loans. If you cannot afford a car on a 48-month loan with 20% down, the math is telling you that car does not fit your life. Listen to it. Step 4. Buy assets. Once the toxic debt is gone, you have to build the asset side of your life. Get your full employer match in your 401k. That is literal free money. Then invest steadily and boringly into broad market index funds for the next 2 decades. There are no flashy sports cars in this strategy. It's boring, but it works. Lastly, do not wait for mortgage rates to magically crash back to 3% before making life decisions. Buy what you can comfortably afford on today's math, or rent without an ounce of shame and aggressively invest the difference. The worst move you can make right now is paralysis. The American middle class split into 2 groups, the asset owners and the wage earners. Nobody is coming to magically fix prices back to 1985 levels. The only question left is which side of the split you want to end up on. You don't need a 6-figure salary to choose the right side. You just have to decide, quietly, today, to start building assets instead of just consuming. That is the entire game now. Not just earning more, but owning something. If this video changed how you're thinking about your money this year, do me a favor. Drop a comment below with the very first financial move you're going to make this week. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next deep dive, and I will see you in the next one.